Today is our technical price analysis day, where all of you get to hear the thoughts and opinions of Paul from Definity, who has 30 years experience reading charts, so that we can get his thoughts on the price action we are seeing in the charts on both projects that I'm interested in, also some ones he's interested in, as well as some viewer suggestions that we're reviewing from last week's video that they put in the comments section. Now today we're going to look at Ecomi's price action, we're going to look at VeChain, we're going to look at Luna, we're going to look at Cardano, as well as some hot lower cap altcoins. I love this day once a week with Paul because I get to hear his thoughts and input, as I love hearing other perspectives from highly experienced people. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host Jay Rain, and if you like money and crypto and are looking for a real investor's take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking the video and subscribing with that all notifications button on. Nothing in this channel is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. This channel is for educational purposes, and we are investors ourselves, and these are just our opinions. So the holiday season is coming up, and we're in part of this 4-year cycle where historically the prices go parabolic. We're looking at some specific charts with Paul from Definity. So let's thank Definity for loaning Paul to us, and let's welcome Paul to the show. Paul, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. I really look forward to this part of the week where I get to hear what you are interested in, and I love to hear your opinion as well. So great to be here. Thanks for your comments, guys. And yeah, let's do this.
Awesome. Let's jump right into it. All right. So today, let's kick it off with some ones that I wanted to look at. Let's take a look at Freeway Token. Now, there's a few here that these are the charts during the past week that I sent out to our private Discord group, our gold level, where they're all Patreon members at the gold level, and they get access to the charts that I'm looking at that I really like, that I shout out to them when I like these patterns. Now, some of these bleed then into some of our other channels, like the Telegram group, which is still free to join at this point. It's not a closed group yet. It will be closed soon. And the entry-level Patreon level, I also talk about these things there, but I always shout it out to them first. Now, we saw this breakout earlier on this, and this is one that you and I have been keeping an eye on, looking for a breakout, and we saw it break out above that 1.1 cent level. But let's take a look at where it is now and get a feel for what you're thinking.
Right. Well, you know, for a start, good call, because you put this on the radar. I wouldn't have looked at it until it had broken out, but it has broken out, and it's done it in style. So it's we were watching it in this range, trying to see whether it was going to go through the high and move into a trend, or whether it was going to be stuck. And it had to go one of three ways, right? The market's going to go up, down, or stay the same. So we were just looking for a change in its dynamics. And the change of dynamics was an upward trend, which is fantastic. So it broke this resistance here at 0.013. And that was the kickoff that the trend was going to go. And it came back for a pullback, a little bit volatile, probably, you know, not much volume going on. And then it's moved into this new trend. So the short answer is this should now go all the way up to the prior resistance high, because this is now a new trend. It's gone parabolic in the short term. The only slight caveat is that this candle here, as you call it, I call it bar, but I look at these bars. This bar here was a bit of a spike. And when you see a spike, that's when the market rejects a very volatile range. So it's a big move, and then the market rejects it, and then you get a move back down. At the end of trends, that can be a worrying sign, because it can mean that it's going to come all the way back down. After a little consolidation, come all the way back down. I don't think it's going to do that. I don't think it's going to go into a massive reversal pattern. I just think it got a little ahead of itself, and it just needs to come back to like 45 degrees as an angle of trend to be a bit more stable. Because it's great to see these coins go up in a straight line, especially when you're in them, of course. But it's also, they can get overly hot too quickly, and therefore I prefer a more sustainable trend that carries on for months and months, rather than something that just wants to blow out quickly and then come back down again. So in short, I think this is it's great that you called this, because this is one of yours. It's looking good technically, and apart from the little spike, which is a little blot on the copybook, it's looking good for a move to the all-time. I think that's the all-time high. If that is, it should go all the way back up there. Now, there may be a retracement along the way, but you'd expect that anyway. But it's in a very good place as far as the trend goes.
Yeah. I'll give you my thoughts on it, and then we're doing a new thing where we give our opinions on whether we're going to buy, we're going to wait and keep looking at it, or we would sell at this point and get the heck out of it. So my thoughts on it I like where it is on the charts. Like, I'm holding it for much higher numbers. I'm grateful for it coming back down because I'm still trying to accumulate more of this, and I did not want to have to be buying it at 2.5 cents. So it wicked up really, really fast, and it does have low volume on the few exchanges that it's on. And so I'm grateful that it retraced some. I would love it if it retraced some more, but I'm not sure it's going to. So I transferred over another 8,000 from the Polygon chain over to the Binance Smart chain, so I can just buy some more. Because I've been trying to get to 20 million total of this, and I'm far from that. It's just I only sell things when they're at highs, so there's been very little that I could sell to continue accumulating this. Would love it if I got to 20 million while it was still in total coins, while it's in a price range that I'd like. So I don't know that I'll get there, but for me, this is a total personal opinion. I'm buying more of this.
Great. So so do we have to say 2 thumbs up then for that?
Yeah, at this point, would you buy? Yeah.
Well, I think so. On a pullback, yes. I'd like it to come back a little bit, and then I would feel like, yeah, it's that little spike is done enough to come back down.
Come on, sellers. We know you're out there, sellers. Dump some more, please. Like, you're at profit. You bought it really cheap. Sell it into our hands, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
perfect.
There we go. Buying a pullback.
So let's take a look at Chronicle. I'm liking this nice rounded bottom on Chronicle. That's XNL is the ticker symbol.
Okay. I think it's this one. Right.
Yes.
So okay. So this is like CSI, where you got to get really close and have a look at the evidence of what's going on, right? So what you're absolutely right. You have got this rounding bottom, but it's really gradual, and you got to know what you're looking for. So it is starting to turn, but for me it's still a wait. But it's a wait with given what's happened on the Freeway token. I think with cryptocurrencies, you've got to be a bit more careful about like turning your back on them for more than 2 weeks. Because if you do, they could just explode. So this is why I'm a bit like, well, normally I would say if this was a share, yeah, just like wait because nothing's happening. But because it's a cryptocurrency, I think you should be careful because it is actually starting to round, and therefore, if it breaks out of this range, which is what we're looking for the next trend, then you're going to see some decent trending price action. So where do I put my orders, or where do I put what you can do is you can in the markets you can put what's called a call level, where you get like a ping to tell you that it's approaching a good point to maybe buy or sell. Now you've got to remember what's going on in this range. There are people who trade short term, so they're buying and selling as the market's going up and down in a range. So they're shorting it and buying it and selling it and buying it and selling it and buying it. Where they get caught out is when what happens with the Freeway token happens, where it breaks into a new high and it doesn't come back, and they get caught short. And that's why you see such sharp moves. So I think a good level to identify whether something's going to happen is at 0.77, between 0.77 and 0.8, around that area. If it's trading around there, I want to see whether it goes up there and stays there. That's the important point. If you notice, when it reverses, it will reverse within 1 day. If it goes up and stays there for 2 days, or maybe 3, then we're like, oh, hang on, why is it staying at the top of the range? Then we think it's going to break out. Now, I'm telling you what I'd be looking for if it happens, and it hasn't happened yet. So for me, I still need to wait. But I like the way this is lifting off the lows, and I think we should keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, this is a competitor to Ecomi. They have their own app. Chronicle is the name of the project, and they're getting some good licenses now. Let's see where their market cap is at. Their market cap is question mark. CoinGecko doesn't want to tell us, so we will check coin market cap. Because come on, we need that information. It's been out long enough; they should have it. Okay, Chronicle. Market cap's at 7 million. I like it.
Yeah, that's. I mean, this is so early stuff. It's just like amazing. It's early for people who get in early. So yeah, great.
I prefer it was in a little bit lower of the range that it's been trading in, because what I like to do is when it hits that lower trend line, is just buy it, because I think when the wave hits, it's going to hit pretty good. So for me, it's a wait, only because I'm just hoping it hits that lower trend line or near there one more time, because we're in the middle of that pattern now. So for me, I'd say wait.
Yeah.
Looking for that lower trend line. Like it's in a buy zone or close to it. I just want it to come down, so just need a few more sellers to sell. Bring that price down a little bit more, because I like the longer term trend, the next 3 months on this a lot.
Yeah. Great.
Perfect.
Okay.
What would you, on your set, I'm getting a sense that this is totally a wait for you as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely a wait. Yeah, definitely a wait for me. I can't justify buying it now technically, but you're absolutely right. If you were to buy it, buying it at the bottom of that range is a good place, because it has operated so well. And even if you were short-term trading, it's a good risk-reward place to get in. But if I'm looking week to week and more than 2 or 3 weeks as a trade, like a month or two, then I would still wait.
Okay. Let's take a look at THETA. Now, THETA's been out of the cycle and the thought process for everyone for a while. That's when it gets my attention.
Is that THETA as in...
Yeah.
Like this, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, THETA versus U. Yeah, that should be it.
That should be it. Okay, yeah.
Perfect. So it had this massive run in March, and it still hasn't even gone up to those highs. Yeah. And so it's done this nice long consolidation and pullback, and it's been out of the narrative for a long time. And so that's what I like to see. That's when I start thinking about something when BitBoy is not talking about it, is when I'm thinking about it.
Okay. So it is, for me, right in the middle of a range. So this is the constriction. So we got the different elements of a market are trend, which is what you've got here, reversal, which is what you've got here, and range, which is what you've got here. So we need to look for a change in this dynamic. So what is going to push it? My question is, what is going to push it out of this dynamic? So the hurdle for it is it's got to take out these 2 points here, which it's attempted to before and failed. So that would be a relatively good signal, but it needs to really break this line, because this is where all the resistance comes in. So that line is lowering as the constriction continues. So this could be going like this and then break out. So the first sign, the call level for this would be 8.5. So if it hits 8.5 and stays up there, then we look for this line to break. And if that breaks, then it could get free of all this resistance and start going into a new high. So those are the tripwires I'd be looking for. At this moment in time, there isn't enough for me to say buy it, because it's still in this range. In the same way that if it was here, I would say the same thing. It's going up a little bit. I would maybe bought it looking for it to take this out, and it's come back again. So it's still too rangy around this middle point. And that's been going on now since May. So that's quite some time. It's quite a few months where it's getting settled into this range. So for me, it's a wait and see. It's a hold on for the moment, and until it looks like it wants to take out this resistance. The flip side of that is it takes this trend line out, and it becomes much cheaper, and maybe that's an opportunity. But at the moment, it's just like steady as she goes.
Yeah, for me, this would be a little bit of a buy, just a nibble, and kind of like Chronicle, that wasn't a bad price to nibble a little bit. Am I going to throw massive? If it hit that lower trend line, I would go bigger into it. Now, this is in the blue chip category, and I'm not heavy on blue chips right now, is especially trying to buy. But for those that don't have their portfolio set up and stuff yet, if I didn't have my portfolio set up and I was trying to put some of mine in the more stable, because THETA, in my opinion, is one of the ones that's likeliest to be around 20 years from now. They have a solid team. They've made extremely solid partnerships. They just ran up so high so fast, touched the sun, and they had to come back down to earth for a while. And so that's just been what's happening. And the fact that they've been out of the narrative cycle for quite a while, they will come back into the narrative cycle. And they now have their THETA network working with MetaMask, and you can buy NFTs on it. Some of the first NFTs are coming out on it. I think it will get back into the narrative cycle and do well. And so, yeah, I would nibble. I would have to say wait, because other than a nibble, I'd be waiting for it just to come near that lower trend line before I would throw bigger numbers at it. And I'm patient enough that if it hits that trend line, I don't care for the short term. It's more like a 3-month trade for me. That when I think this massive wave comes, it's going to take a lot of boats up, and THETA will not be an exception to that, and it will go crazy. And then I'd be taking profits on that massive ride up. But it's already had some of its gains. You can no longer get it at 7 cents like you could in the bear market. You know, it's now at like $6, a great buy. And my guess is still has some good gains in this bull run for it to realize. So I'd have to say wait, only from the standpoint of I would just nibble at this point. So
yeah, interesting. I mean, that's where I bow to your, the knowledge that you have behind the coin. Because it sounds exciting when you describe it, and I think it's definitely worth, knowing that, because when the two things align, the technicals and the fundamentals, you're going to get a great trend. So yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah, you will be able to use the THETA network right from your smart TV and things, and you'll be able to get paid to utilize your resources for things. So it's really setting up some good things. It's still going to take another 4 to 8 years to really fully realize, but when it's become a part of everyone's home TV experience, then the price will be a lot higher than it is. Yeah. Let's take a look at Cardano. We just did our live stream, and I know our viewers are seeing this on Thursday, but we're recording this on Wednesday. Just because that's when our schedules align. So on the live stream that we did, one of the viewers asked a question about should he sell his Cardano now, because he's just tired of it trading sideways, which it's hard to be patient through that. And he's thinking of rolling it into some metaverse projects. And my thoughts are, I do have a lot of Cardano still. I have 100,000, actually like 102, 103,000, just from some staking rewards and everything. I did have 383,000. I've diversified out of some of it as it went to some really higher numbers, not because I wanted to sell it, only because they were better deals out there, and so I took profits at $2.50 and at $3 in order to buy some things that were cheaper, not knowing for sure that it would retrace from there. It's just I was happy with some of the gains and rolled it into some things at the time that were very, very cheap. And so I still have 100,000 left, and I'm not selling them at this point. I already know what my answer is, but let's take a look at this, because it did hit higher than what the charts show, hit like 330 or 340, but the charts don't always reflect those very temporary wicks up. And now it's retraced all the way to showing right now at 161. Yeah. And so I'm interested in your opinion on what's going on here.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a standout as an underperformer, that's for sure. And I can definitely understand any frustration with why is this train stuck in the station? Everything else seems to be going, and this is like not. And in some ways it's going backwards. It's not even like holding its levels. But look, I can't say whether you should buy, sell, or hold anything for yourself. I can only tell you what I would do. But I think it's coming into some good support, and I think the broader trend is still positive. So if you're looking at some of the other coins, like the metaverse stuff, which actually I wanted to talk about, I was going to mention Mana, for example, which is one that I've been looking at for a while, and it's wicking up. Well, it's going up quite aggressively. That will be a hot sector, and I think I think having both is a good idea. If you can split your portfolio between one and the other, if you can add some into the other one, but getting rid of something just because you're kind of, I can understand why you want to get rid of something because you're frustrated with it, but this is what all coins will do, even the majors. I mean, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum look like they're going to continue their correction potentially, and that, would we get rid of that? Well, maybe yes in the short term, but if you're holding this for the long term, then I don't think that's a good idea, because where do you get back in if you are going to get back in? The problem with getting out is that, yeah, the market goes down a bit more and then it goes up and then it starts to take off, and then you just kind of watch it and you think, what am I going to do now? Am I going to buy the new high? Which is a strategy I don't mind doing, but maybe you might not mind. Maybe you won't want to do that. So it's really a question that you have to answer. But technically, yes, it has performed badly. I completely understand why you'd want to get out, but the trend is still up, and I think this will catch up. I think eventually it will catch up. So I would be looking at buying it close to these levels. It's worth a punt if you didn't have any, which I don't actually. So buying at this level, there's quite a lot of support coming in, which is where all this resistance was. So my downside risk here is at 1.5. So buying at 161 with a stop below 1.5 is pretty good risk reward for a short-term trade. So I'm just trying to think how would a short-term trader think of this, and that's getting into good levels. Buying when it's boring or buying when it's cheap with certain good technologies is worth, it's worth looking at. So yeah, I think we're getting close to some levels where I think you will see people jumping back in again. But for any individual, can I guarantee it won't go to 1? I can't. I don't know. It might do, but I just think longer term, this is still, one of the majors, and it should still do well. So I would be thinking about your strategy and say, if I do get out, where will I get back in again? And if you compare it to the other, obviously, metaverse coins, yeah, it's not going to be doing as well, because that is a hot sector. But that could start to rotate, and this could start to move. So, it could swing back in its favor.
The hard thing with doing that is, as human beings, especially when we're new at trading, jumping back in at the right time is hard. So I'll share my thoughts on this, and then I'll share a story. So at this point, it's a buy zone for me, but I'm so heavy on Cardano already. I'm not going to be picking up more. In fact, I'm as heavy as I want to be on blue chips in general. So at this point, it's a buy zone, not a sell zone for me. For sure, not a sell zone, because it's at the lower trend line. Now, it's hard to be patient. What I often see is we take this ride down almost to where it's the bottom is where we most feel like getting out and where most people exit. And this is why the market takes the most amount of money from the most amount of people, because we're all humans. And don't even shut off those emotions. I just don't follow what they tell me to do. So when I'm the most panicked and, oh my gosh, eToro is delisted Cardano, why their excuse doesn't match the reason that they give doesn't match reality. Cardano is way less likely to be considered a security than a lot of ones out there. In fact, Cardano is tradable in Japan, which has much higher security standards than the US. And so that's why eToro said, oh, we're delisting Cardano because it might be classified as a security, which is baloney. There's another reason. We just know they're not giving it to us. We don't know what that reason is, but it isn't the stated reason. So
that's interesting. You've got a very big fundamental, something's been weighing on this, and now you've said that, then usually what you get is the bad news, the selling climax, and then it turns. So
right. Into patient people like mine. And this is why I was able to buy Cardano at 2 cents, because there was bad news 2 years ago and sold right into my hands. Why? Because fundamentally I believed it was the right leadership with the right idea and it would go somewhere. And so that's my thought on this. If I weren't so heavy on it, I would have to say buy on this, though I'm not going to be buying more because I'm so heavy on Cardano and the blue chips. I'm more looking for other parts of my portfolio for the ride up. But if I didn't have any blue chips right now, absolutely I'd be buying this.
Yeah, I'd have to say on this trend line, because it's a long-term trend line, it goes back to the end of 2020, and so this is what we use as buy signals. So it would be a short-term buy for me. It's got to hold that, and if it doesn't hold it, there is some support below it, but right here, right now, it's heading towards that support. So I've got to respect that. Now, I would like to see it bounce. I wouldn't mind seeing it bounce from it just to confirm it's using it as support, and then get in just as a little filter, because as you say, catching falling knives sometimes is not a good idea, depending on the technical situation. But if you've got a good reason and a place to exit from a trader's perspective, then it's a good strategy. It's a good strategy to follow. So yeah, I would like to see it bounce a little bit and then jump in on that. But failing that, this is a good trend line. So I'd have to say buy.
And Paul has a very different strategy than mine overall, which is why I like these live streams so much, because it gives the audience different perspectives. Because I'm a swing trader, I hold for longer periods. Like the shortest period is usually like a week or two, but usually it's 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. It might even be 3 years. And so Paul catches it when he can tell the ride is going up, is usually when he jumps in. He takes that ride up and then he starts exiting out, looking for just those opportunities, and his 30 years of experience really help him be able to identify when the probabilities are good for him to take trades. And so his perspective just gives us some balance here, which is good. Even though we don't always agree, it's great that you get to hear exactly what our thoughts are. So let's take a look at Decentraland's Mana token.
Yeah. So yeah, that's as I say, a very interesting. Oh, hang on. What have I shared? Have I shared the right thing? Yes, I have.
That is Cardano.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I thought I'd shared the Zoom meeting. So here we go. So this was I was on a podcast with a friend of mine who's been talking about the real estate cycle, which is something obviously Crypto Rain knows a lot about, and he was saying that the next wave will be in the metaverse, and Decentraland was a coin that he told me about. I'd never heard of it, and this was before the Facebook announcement was made. So he told me about it here, and it obviously exploded. And given how big this could be, I think I may have even mentioned it on your show. A few years ago, I would have said, this is crazy. Why would you buy something that's not in the real world? We want to spend more time together as human beings, not do more things online, especially with lockdown and everything else. Everyone wants to meet people. And of course, yes, that's absolutely true. But I think the technology is going to be so interesting as a whole. I'm not necessarily even saying for this particular one, but I can see the advantage of buying, real estate that in the metaverse that people will be interested in, that can advertise in, and where you can meet people. So I think the main point is that if this becomes a method of meeting people and communicating, then those two things, for me, are the most important things that we do as human beings. So any technology that makes that interesting, fun, and is easy to do, and something we adopt, is something we should be looking at. So this is why this could have much more upside, and it just be at the beginning of a major cycle. Now, I don't go into anywhere near the sort of fundamental details that Crypto Rain goes into, so don't take any of my views as anything that you should follow. I'm just still looking at technicals. But the technicals here was great because it was straight up. Then one of these horrible corrections where you're wondering whether it's going to go down again and all the gains are going to be lost. And then it starts to turn back up again, break through the high, a little consolidation, and now we're on a straight up. So look, I can't tell you where this is going to stop, but I can tell you that there are people who are buying this one aggressively, and therefore it is a good trend. It's not something I think will stop within a week or two, even if it corrects within the next couple of weeks. I think this is something that's going to take a few years to develop, and so I'm in this for the very long term. I'm not buying it for next week and in and out. I'm going to buy this and hold it for a few years. And the best way to find out whether we're close to this being a saturated technology is to look around and talk to people who don't normally know anything about technology. Wait for them to say, "Oh, have you heard of Mana?" like friends who are just not into computers and stuff like that, or know nothing about cryptocurrencies. When they start talking about it, then that'll be at the end of the trend. And we're really far from that. We're so far away from it. To even discuss the whole, the area of the metaverse is like, although Facebook have done it, nobody really understands what it will be yet. But they do, and they're investing a lot of money in it. So this is I can understand why you'd want to buy this rather than Cardano. It's definitely outperforming. But I think there's a place for everything. They're different technologies. And this is just hot because of what Facebook have done.
Yeah, exactly. Facebook made that announcement, and it took this and everything else huge. And I wish I'd had insiders that told me that that was going to happen. Caught us completely off guard because, so what I asked myself is the tokens behind this. There's the Sandbox as well and Decentraland, and their tokens are really expensive. And you can use the tokens, or the land for Sandbox is, you can buy it with the token SAND on OpenSea. You can also buy it with ETH on OpenSea, but so that it has a use case and that you can buy it. The land and the token, I think, will still have some room to run. They just don't have the gains ahead of it that it still can have. So I would put these in the blue chip sector. These two particular universes, and so Sandbox's currency doesn't look too different from this. They both did that same thing, and it's a little bit early for this technology to really be ready. If you actually try to play Decentraland, you can use it from your browser. You can go in and you can outfit your character and stuff, but if you join a room that has like 30 people, it is super laggy and slow. And Sandbox is going to be launching soon that you can actually play in it, but it's going to take a while for the technology to really make this useful. So what I see is this bull run, these are going to do well. Now, I'm in some of the lower cap ones that I think will have a higher ride from here, and then I'm going to sell most of them. Now, there's some land I just won't sell. I'll probably keep one of my Sandbox land pieces in case they never do come back down, but I'm going to sell my other one. I only have 2. I actually tried to buy 13. I didn't speed up the transactions, so 11 of the 13 transactions failed way back when, like a year ago. It's too bad because they were about $80 a piece, and now they're trading for like 3 ETH or 4 ETH, like $12,000 to $15,000. So the basic land is going for 12 or 15,000. My guess is it'll go to 50, maybe even 100 for those basic pieces as people come in FOMO in. And I saw this cycle happen in real estate all the time, that you'd have this FOMO cycle and everyone would FOMO in, and then it would reverse and it would retrace quite a bit, just like we see in crypto all the time. Real estate does this too, and I think virtual real estate will do this. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these basic pieces of land go from 15,000 all the way to 100,000, and then maybe crash anywhere down to 30,000, maybe even to 5,000, depending on how many people just dump because it's so easy to sell. You don't have to hire a realtor. You don't have to sell through a real estate agent. You can just sell through an exchange here. So we'll see where it comes down to, and that's where I will then try to scoop up some more pieces. I do have some land in network as well that I have an epic piece that I'm hoping to do something with the community that I probably won't sell just because I'll try to keep that piece for forever, just for the community and some fun things that we can do.
So I looked at this one just because my friend mentioned it, and
let's take a look at Sandbox, and then
I was going to say Sandbox is
yeah.
I don't know of the competition, so Sandbox sounds like really interesting. It sounds like it's what's the
Sand is the actual name of the
land. Okay.
Sand, and then that's it.
Sandbox. Oh, holy moly! Look at that. Right, that's done much better. Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I've not, as I say, I've not seen the other one, so that's a massive breakout. That's a lovely flag. Yeah, it's not a lot you can say other than this is an upward trend. Yeah, it's definitely getting a bit punchy in terms of how far it's moving in one day.
This kind of stuff scares me, like trying to walk on thin ice. And you could walk onto it, but then I try to walk off of it really fast when it swings in my advantage. So I usually, when I take these trades, and the only reason I'm not doing more of these is because there's more of the trades that I like. When the market gets really hot, these are your options. Everything looks like this. and then I'm looking for a retracement, and then I might enter and exit very quickly. What I hate about quick enters and exits is I don't like to be sitting there staring at my screen all the time. It makes me anxious as a person, and I don't like anxiety. That's why I don't do leverage trades. I tried that for a while. Man, I was always worried anytime I stepped away from the computer. I don't like that feeling. So this is what I call chasing green candles. Can you make some money? Sometimes when you enter quickly and you exit quickly. Will these probably be around 20 years from now? Probably. These are the leading two metaverses out there, but their market caps are already high. So me personally trading this, I would be wait on this just because I'm not seeing a retracement. It just ran up to 790. Probably there's a retracement here. A good buy. And even looking back, you can see it climbs up and then it retraces. It takes 3 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah, I mean, what I would be really interested in is if you pick up on a technology that's like going to be a competitor before it's well known by anybody else, because I've only heard of Mana. I've not heard of anything else. And well, now I know Sandbox, so that's 2. But I can't imagine that they'll be the only people in the space. So there's going to be people wanting to jump in, especially with the interest. So it will be great to see if there's some new technology that you hear about for anybody else that comes out that we can analyze in the future. But I get your point. It's a bit like, buying into, not saying Bitcoin's not going to go up or Ethereum's not going to go up. It's just it's a little more mature than everything else. Yeah. And therefore there's much bigger gains in other areas. So it'd be interesting to see how it develops. But technically, and this is the difference between our approaches, technically, I can't say sell until I see a reversal pattern, in the same way that when we're looking at a downward trend in some of the other coins, I can't say buy until we see a reversal pattern. So it's the trend is your friend, which is the market kind of phrase that gets used a lot. But that's usually said because people try to short the market, which means make money because they think it's too high and they sell against it with coins that they don't own and then end up having to buy it back much higher. And the risk with that is it can go anywhere on the upside. The upside's unlimited, the downside's just 0. So it can be a very dangerous strategy. Just ask anybody who's been short Tesla, they'll tell you all about that. So for me, I have, even though it's going fast, and I acknowledge that, I still have to go with that trend because there are certain reversal patterns that tell me when the market stopped. Now that might happen tomorrow, it might happen in a week, might happen in a month. That's the thing, just don't know.
So you would, for you, this would be a buy, and you would wait for that reversal pattern to appear, and then you'd be like out. Yeah,
it feels crazy, but that's the trend is up. I cannot fight that. Those are the rules. It has to go. I have to be long, even if that's the top. But you see, we could be trading at 15, and then I could say the same thing. Now I'm not saying it will go there. I'm just saying the way the market is going up, most people will be trying to either sell this or won't want to buy it. And I try to do what the majority don't do. So the only caveat with this one, there is quite a lot of sort of noise around it, which is a bit of a worry. You don't want big headlines and everybody really excited about it. You want it to be moving up quietly with nobody talking about it. And that's certainly not the case here. But in terms of pure price action, if I didn't know anything about the fundamentals, I would say it's still an upward trend.
Yeah, probably it's going to continue up from here. For me, it would not be a buy, just because, well, if I were to make a buy on this, I would buy it and I would sell it when it hit to $12. And I did this with Chainlink. I don't do this strategy very often. I bought Chainlink at like $4. When it hit $8, I just sold it. And it ended up going all the way to 21. I didn't know how high it would go. But it was massively in the cycle. Everyone was talking about it. And so it's like, when I try to surf that wave, I surf it for a very short time because I do not want to be around when it crashes into the rocks. And they do. That ice does break. And when it does, it's a painful place to be. And you don't know that you're buying it right before the ice will break. My guess is it's still got some room to run. It is a big narrative. You have some people that, like you, who hadn't really heard about it before, and your friends are hearing about it, and then they're just coming in and they're buying into it. Oh my gosh, I need to buy this token. Not even thinking, what is the token's use case? Should I be buying the land versus the token? And so I think there'll still be more of that. So there's probably some upside on this, but I would personally, if I were buying in at these prices, I'd be hitting that eject button pretty quick. So for me, this would be a wait, or even actually for me, this would be a sell. If I were still holding this, and I sold way back in September when it hit $1, I hit that eject button, was very happy with my gains, and did not buy back in when it retraced down to 50 cents.
Interesting. That's really interesting. We could do a whole show just on talking about the the metaverse, because you've just asked a really interesting question that I want to know the answer to. Do you buy the coin or do you buy the land, or both? It's a really great question, but I suppose we should move on to the next one. Otherwise, we're going to
being in the real estate, I'm highly partial to the land, but also getting it at a good price. And look, it'll probably appreciate from here. I do think you want to look at the smaller projects, which we cover those during the regular week. We cover the up and coming gems, the projects that are just launching, that if you can get in at the initial DEX offering, sometimes you're getting that lowest price. Sometimes through some of the launch pads you can get some of the land, like a lot of our community members got the land for network through some of the different launch pads that had sales for it, and they will be doing a public sale soon. I don't know what the rules to participate in that is, but and probably that land will do well, but I think the basic pieces through there are roughly about $5,000. But probably they'll go to where the basic pieces of Sandbox and Decentraland are at, which is $15,000 and still climbing. So
great.
Let's. It was good to have that discussion because it is so in the news and people want to know what's happening with the tokens. So for you, that's a buy. For me, it's a sell.
We shall
or
see.
If I was to buy in, I would buy in and then I'd be like, okay, $11. I'm hitting the eject button on half. Oh my gosh, it's at $18. Boo, eject. Because I like to buy when it's boring and I get nervous when it's going crazy like this because I've taken that ride down and it's a bitter place to be.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we want to take a look at? Let's look at Avalanche. Now, Avalanche has been so high in the news for a while and that's starting to calm down. And yeah, so we're seeing, and it's like everyone's saying, Avalanche is the greatest, Avalanche is the greatest. Avalanche is pretty good. Greatest, that's a big term, but a lot of people have been, so much momentum there. And now that people are using Avalanche, starting to see some lag and on the transaction times and stuff because it's getting actual usage. And this is a good problem, so we're starting to see how Avalanche handles under load. But this is a nice pullback. I'm interested to see if this is a buy point for you.
Yeah, this was one that I popped over to you. I don't know if you remember, because I rarely do that, but I saw.
On this retrace. Yep.
Yeah.
That consolidation triangle we talked about. I think even 2 weeks ago.
I'm not sure if we ended up talking about it. I can't remember, but I definitely sent a chart through.
Yep.
And it was this little consolidation. And I just thought, wow, this is gonna. I didn't buy any. How can you believe that? I didn't buy any. I just why didn't I buy any? I just don't know. But I thought I've got to share this, and that should have been my trigger that something was going on. Now, I was thinking that this might have been a little too mature because the price it was trading at was around 90 or 100. So I thought, well, is it going to 10x from here? Probably not. And I've sort of got into the, fallen into that trap where you're expecting you want to buy something really low with a 0.00 something on it because if it seems to have more upside. But in the rules of technical analysis, if it's going up, it's going up, and therefore a stock that everybody in the UK likes to trade, like Lloyd's, which is trading at like 60 pence or something like that, they want to buy that and they ignore Google because they think Google's expensive, and Google just keeps going up and Lloyd's doesn't. To be fair, Lloyd's has gone up a little bit recently, but one has vastly outperformed the other. So just looking at the price alone isn't enough to tell you whether it's a buy or not. So what I'm saying here is that this trend was really good. And I'm actually quite surprised it went from 90 to nearly 150. So 145, that was a very fast move. But yeah, now it's retracing. It could probably do with a bigger retracement because it's had such a phenomenal run for something that's not just a few cents. But the trend is still good. So I'm going to stick with it. So if I had some of it, I would have definitely exited out what I'd put into it in the first place. I think that is the first step, because it gave you that opportunity. So I can't say I can do that now because I didn't buy any in the first place. So the question is, do I buy some here? Yeah, I think if it comes back down to 109, 108, that's not a bad level to have a nibble at it. I'm slightly worried by you saying that there's a lot of noise around it and a lot of activity. So, maybe this needs to come back to this trend line here. But everything that we talk about, that certainly that you talk about, is early compared to the broader, market of investing. And I still think everything is going to go up pretty much as we go into next year. So, so I'm generally bullish on everything, even though I know we're having a bit of a correction in the majors. So I think for a long-term play, yeah, I would buy it on a pullback.
Yeah. So that's actually not yet. That's a wait because it's buying a pullback.
Yeah, so it'd be a wait for the wait for now, but I'm really interested in buying it.
Yeah, for me it's a wait too. If it hit that lower trend line, then I would be picking it up, and that's just how I like to play it. And if it means I miss out on some things, that's fine. And I actually buy it a little bit before it hits that lower trend line in case it never quite comes down to that, or it depends on if it's somewhere I can put a buy order in that can automatically fill even if I'm sleeping. A lot of times in crypto, that's not going to happen on a DEX where I have to swap it on a DEX. So for me, it's a wait as well. I like Avalanche. I think they'll probably make it long term. Probably. It's still pretty early, but we are pretty early in this cycle. I think we're going to have a bigger run as a lot of people become aware, and they're going to FOMO in. And too many people are going to FOMO in, and then it's going to collapse out. And then you'll have some of those latecomers then panic sell out, which will then be what creates some good buying opportunities. So we'll get another swing at the bat soon enough. Like in 2 years from now, it'll get cheap, and then I'll make some more long-term positions on some virtual land on metaverses that I think are going to stick around for forever. And then I'm just going to hold that stuff. Because can you imagine that you have some real estate virtually that you don't have to pay taxes on, that you can put billboards on and make money, advertising revenue from the billboards, and passive income? Because isn't passive income the greatest thing in life? Now you can make some passive income on stable coins as well, and that's great. So for me, that's a wait. No. And if I hadn't sold, if I was heavy on this from a while, I would take some profits out of it, and I'd be looking for it to come back to this trend line and buy. So just a wait, though. All right, let's see what else we got. Our suggestions from viewers. KYL, I don't know. Let's take a look at KYL.
KYL. Is that
Kylin. Oh, okay, I know Kylin.
Oh, yeah. Right, so...
Ooh, that's what I like to see.
Yeah, look, this isn't bad as a pullback. So it's woken up and it wanted to start this new trend. This trend has come back again. It's finding support at the breakout point. So if we just move in a bit closer, you can see what's gone on there. So we've had all this activity, pull back, and now this area here should be a floor. So around here is a buy. We're buying on this pullback, expecting this area to hold. If it doesn't, the next level area where it should hold is just this emerging trend line, which we could even extend back down to the major low here. So it's a gradual line, but it's rising. So this is a good area to buy back into. But it doesn't look as great as the other ones that are trending up already. So it's slightly early in that regard. Where I would get a bit more excited, I don't feel I'm about to miss an opportunity. I just think it's come back to a good level. So I would use this resistance line as a level
when it's breaking through.
Yeah, so when it breaks through, and this area here, 0.54, would be another good place, to give it a little bit more kind of how can I put it? We want to see a bit of momentum. So it's like this is sort of turning the corner, going back up again. So we want to see a bit more of that, and this would show that there's a bit more momentum. Yeah, sure, I would trade off the fact that I'm not buying it at much cheaper levels, which I don't mind, So I'm happy to wait until it looks like it's moving again before I jump in, and that would be a good sort of acid test if it can get through 0.54. I mean, ultimately, if it gets through 0.74, then it would look even better. But I think you could buy it before then. You'd know a little bit before then whether things are turning around. So this is a very interesting development. The fact that it broke out to the upside tells us that it wants to actually go. It's got sold into, which is, pretty much par for the course because a lot of coins have come back. But there's some great support. So that's why I like it where we are now. But the next step is it's got to start moving up. And if it doesn't do that, then, then I'm less interested in it. So I want to see it move up.
Yeah, for me at this point, for my portfolio, it would be a buy at this point. And then I would not throw everything that I was going to put into this. I would save a little bit of it, half of it, and I would buy at this point. I'm happy with those prices because that nice retracement. They are in the Polkadot ecosystem, which started to kick off, and they did just have their first successful parachain auction. But then, everything's kind of pulled back, and so it creates a second swing, at a second at bat for you right now. If so it gives you that second chance to get in. We see that over and over again. Freeway Token had that second chance to get in where it took off and then it came right back to like the 1.3 cents mark, gave people a chance to enter some more. Thank goodness I was awake and looking at it, and I bought a bunch more at 1.3 cents and it took off again. So yes, I like this price on Kylin very much. Let's take a look at Drife. Now, Drife is compared to Uber out of India. I really like this CEO. She came on the channel and interviewed. I think we were the first place that ever had an interview with her. And this is months and months and months ago. It's since done some really good things, and they're launching their actual cars and stuff in India. And then DRF.
DRF, okay.
Yeah, DRF is the ticker symbol Drife, like drive, but with an F in it. And so they're out of India, and then the big India FUD again. I've seen this like 8 or 9 times. India is trying to pass this bill that would ban all cryptocurrencies. And the Royal Bank of India does not like cryptocurrency and has a lot of political power and is always trying to shut down cryptocurrencies. And they're trying to pass a digital currency. And then they'll try to do what China did and then ban all cryptocurrencies so that they don't have to compete with their national currency, which will then they will print endless numbers. And even when they banned it before, people didn't follow the ban. So we'll see how this works out. But Drife functions with a cryptocurrency token, but essentially they're a competitor to Uber and to Lyft. And their drivers get paid more and the riders pay less, using the blockchain to help run a lot of the mechanisms behind it, so it has much lower overhead. And so I like situations where the drivers will make more and the people pay less. I think that's a winning narrative. How the India thing will play out, this is the 8th time I've seen it. I don't know. Probably it won't happen the way they're saying it'll happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, for me, this is a wait. I like this big, what I would call an impulsive move. I think this is a correction and it will turn around, but not, if I was timing this, I think I could wait a little bit more for it to come closer to this support area. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a very, very interesting technology, and this is the start of what could be some very big upward waves. So this is like, wave 1 in Elliott wave 2's come back down here, and then this would be off to wave 3, which would take it way above here. So, I'm just trying to time it a bit better. Maybe I'm just trying to be a bit too smart and I shouldn't do that. But I think we might get it down to this sort of level, which is fantastic support. So right down there, it would be, it'd be something that'd be quite compelling. But again, as you know how I like to look at things, I don't mind missing a little bit of that if it's turning up, and it needs to break this trend line for me to say this rate of correction is now slowing and it's starting to turn back up again, and I would use that as the marker for it. So if it does that, then I would sort of buy whenever it does that. But on retracement levels, which I think we're going to see a bit better, I don't know for sure, but I think we will see some better buys, better levels to buy. But as it sort of lands into this area here, it will look very compelling.
Yeah, 2 cents. It's so attractive. It's attractive at 2.7 cents. I never thought we'd get a swing at the bat for more pickup. We covered it on this channel a lot when it was around a penny and under a penny. And in the Telegram
Did you
group.
what, around here before it went up?
Oh yeah. I've been talking about it
wow.
with my audience for forever when this was cheap and this nice rounded bottom. And so yes, yeah, and then it went crazy because they announced like their mainnet launch and some other things in India and had these nice pictures with their nice vehicles. And you know, if you've read the reviews from the drivers, they're loving that they're making more money. So it's just the Royal Bank of India. Plus, it had a pullback, which would have come naturally. I just think this pullback has been sharper because of that. And so it's right at the pain point. It might go a little bit cheaper, but this is pretty close to where I like to buy. So I'm just going to say buy on this, even though really I'd be waiting for just a tiny bit cheaper. I'd probably nibble at this at 2.7 cents. And I would be hoping that it comes down to 2.1 cents where I would buy a bunch more. And if it gets even cheaper than that, great. And I would keep an eye on what happens with India, because I've been through this cycle like 8 or 9 times with India doing this in the 4 years I've been in crypto.
Such a massive market. If you get anything even slightly right over there, it's gonna be huge.
Yeah, and my guess is that they're politically connected, the team behind this, so they'd probably be able to get an exemption for their cryptocurrency because it has a real use case that they're using. It's not like Dogecoin, a meme coin, so I would have to imagine that they have the connections in India to make an exemption for them. That's just a guess. I don't know that for certain, but I did get a really good feel for the CEO, and she's got a brilliant team as well as she's a brilliant person. Okay, so let's take a look at VeChain, and we'll go through these pretty quick. VeChain, Luna, and then OMI.
So VeChain.
VET is the symbol for it. VET. Yeah.
I do remember the name. It's just I couldn't remember the symbol. So yeah, this is going to be a wait. So this looks like it's being caught up in the broader correction. So it took out this 0.155 level. Should really have held around here, but it came back through it. It's back into this range, which was kind of marked most of what it's been doing since May. So it's come back into that. It's 50% into that, which is a good nibble place, but not for me. I want to wait a bit longer. So I think this is going to come lower because it feels like it's trading with the majors. It sort of went up with the majors, coming back with the correction in the majors. I think the majors are going to come back a bit lower as well. So I think we might see like 10 cents there to buy it, but it's going to get really good levels just before there. But that's where I'd like to see it come back to make it a bit more compelling.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a wait for me. However, I do think if anyone watching this video, if you come back and watch this video in 3 months from now, I think you will look at these prices and you'll be like, oh my gosh, everything was so cheap. I bet you that's going to happen. So try that 3 months from now. It is now 11/24, so November 24th. You'll be seeing this on the 25th. So come back in 3 months from now. What's that, December, January, February, and see if these prices aren't dirt cheap for most everything we covered today. Let's take a look at...
That's an interesting point because, sorry to cut in, I was just going to say that I'm looking sort of from this week to next week when you show me a chart. I'm not thinking that long term unless it's, something, very specific. So if it's very long term, yeah, I think it will be higher for sure. But,
this reminds me a lot of the charts in January. When I had early started this channel, I only made a few videos in December, January this year. And there was all these good deals, and I was so excited. I was like a kid in a candy store. And like in February and March and April, all those deals had gone. And I was like, oh, man, the only options were big retracements. And, and then the market retraced big from there. But so like I'm a kid in a candy store right now that there's a lot of like nice retracements that are very attractive on some solid projects that I like. Let's take a look at Luna.
So Luna, Terra Luna.
So for me on this would be a sell and just trying to get a little bit cheaper. Like overall, it's a long-term buy, but from week to week, I'd be selling the last one we looked at.
Same
Terra, I would I have a bunch of Terra. I just have it staked, and I'm getting interest on it. As well as every once in a while, like when they launch a new project on this blockchain, if you have Luna staked, you will then get some of the airdrop. And so normally your return on investment for staking is anywhere between 4 to 9%. But every once in a while, all of a sudden it'll swing to like 200% because you get a bunch of the other tokens dropped. So I do have some of this that I just have staked that I'm not actively trading, because withdrawing it takes like 14 days or something, or 21 days, and you get no rewards during that period. The question we have right now is, would I buy, or would I hold, or would I sell what I do have? It wouldn't be sell, but let's see if it's buy, or would I just wait?
Yeah, for me, it's a wait, because it's correcting. This has made what looks like a double top, and then which is a reversal pattern, possible head and shoulders pattern as well. What I've done here is I put in what's called the Fibonacci retracement level. So I look at the low, that I see that as a major low. We could have put it from there, but we had an actual lower point nearby. Then we look at the high, and then we look at the retracement points along the way. So the main ones are 38.2%, then 50%, and then 61.8%, which is here. And it says 0.618, but it's points. It's basically if you move the decimal point. So so this is basically a 50% move, which is usually the market will react there. So the way the Fibonacci levels work, they either work perfectly, where it stops there exactly and bounces, or it just goes straight through it. So it's kind of like a binary thing. So this is where I'm looking at potential buy points, because it's going down, but it's retracing this bigger trend. So where might it stop? So the next level is 35. So I'd be looking at it at 35. If it breaks 35, then the next level is 29. So those are the 2 points that I would be looking to buy against. But yeah, for the moment, it's a corrective phase.
Yeah. For me, it's a wait. It's definitely not a sell, just because I like the long term of this, and I just have some stake. But it's not a buy for me yet. I think it'll come down to that next Fibonacci retracement, if not possibly further, at which point I would buy. Now, I bought this back actually when it was really cheap, when it was way back at like $6, when it was boring. It had gone way up to almost $24, and it retraced all the way to $6. And I bought when I was boring. So I'm still holding them since then. I haven't sold any of it, and I just have it staked. And so taking a nice ride up. So this is why I say buy when it's boring, right?
Yeah, and great technology. If it gets cheaper, I'm happy, because I haven't got any, so I'm looking.
Yeah, right. For those that weren't around when it was boring back then, you have to start where you're at and make your best decisions here. For me, it's a wait, looking for it to hit that like $35 mark or close to that, and then I would nibble, and then I would pray that it gets cheaper and goes to that 50% retracement at around $30, $29, and then. But for me now, it's a wait. Let's take a look at OMI. Gosh, I love this token. Yeah. I love this project. I think they're going to be around a very long time from now, and they're going to be building their own universe, or what is it called? Metaverse.
Yeah.
And so you want to get a token while it's cheaper right now, that it's not in the cycle, because they haven't made a lot of announcements about it. So here is your one, Paul, because they have the VeVeVerse. They reserved it 2 years ago, and they trademarked it 2 years ago. But they do a lot of things behind the scenes. They do make announcements and let things come out when they're ready. But they do a great job at keeping their lips very tight and only announcing when they're ready to. So some projects, as soon as they have some good announcements, they throw it out there as fast as they can, because they're like, please like me. Ecomi is very confident that way, and it has some great licenses for collectibles and other things that they haven't released. They're going to be doing their own metaverse, and the metaverse isn't priced into the current price at all right now. The reason it's where it's at right now is based on the strength of their licenses. In fact, it's still at a discount, because their amazing NFTs aren't tradable on OpenSea, which is where all the people that are ETH rich are. And so this is at a huge discount, in my opinion, for the long term, because of the VeVeVerse that they'll create. And they're very flush with cash on a monthly ongoing basis through selling their collectibles, as well as the little bit of fee that they make every time transactions happen on their marketplace. And so they are positioned very well to create a great metaverse that does incredibly well. And I don't think it's priced into the token. I know their current market cap is at 1.6 billion. And the market cap of some of these other ones is like at 6 billion. I think of Sand. Let me look at where Sand's marketplace is. Sandbox. So their market cap is at 6.6 billion. And Ecomi's market cap is at 1.6 billion. And that's just based off of how cool the collectibles are, and the Disney license and the Marvel license and the DC Comics license for like Batman and other DC comic type collectibles. I don't think it's really priced in the VV-verse at all. So
yeah, I mean, the more you talk about it, the more excited I get about it. And to be honest, technically, it's looking okay. I think we talked about it when it was making this base and it broke out, and that was the first buy signal. It's had a correction and retouched that prior resistance, which is great because that is now a fantastic buy on a break, because it's hit it once, twice. If it breaks through that, it's just going to go. Now, we've also got ascending lows, which is why I've drawn this line in. So you could buy it against that now, because it's on a pullback, and then buy a little bit now and then buy again on a breakout. I think that's a pretty good strategy. So so I like it. I think it looks good, and I'm tempted to go out and get some, actually. Now, I'm not saying anyone else should. I'm just saying technically the chart looks good. This is potentially a triangular constriction, which is usually a pause before the trend continues in the prior direction. The prior direction is up, so it should make this triangular constriction and then continue in that trend at the same rate. So we're expecting this sort of move from the breakout point, which would be confirmed when it takes out these two resistance points. I like the fact that they're both together as well, because it solidifies that as a breakout point. But you know, when you hear about what the technology is and the fact that they're understated, which is an unusual thing in the world of crypto, makes it very interesting. So
you would be surprised at how much understatement happens, and the reason is where people get their news on crypto is YouTube or Twitter and a little bit some other places. But like, people have such short attention spans and they move on, and so everyone was talking about Ecomi when it was at 1.4 cents. And then it retraced from that because it had gone from like a fraction. It had like 800x to get to 1.4 cents. And so then it's retraced huge because there was a lot of people that could take profits on it, as well as there were some team unlocks of the token that brought it all the way down to a really attractive price of 0.2 cents. And I was talking about it all the time when it was way down there. And it's since gone up from there. I still think it's at a value price, especially right now, right? So for me, 100%, this is a buy zone that I love, that I'm like, oh yes, because if you look at this pattern, you see two thumbs up here, or not two thumbs up, a W, or a double bottom. So for me, I like on the double bottom that second part. Now, who knows? It could turn against you like this and break down, and I've had that happen for me on some things. For me, this is the kind of risk that I take. I buy there because I don't want to wait till here and then have it break through, come back and retest, and miss that because I don't sit there and look at every chart every day. So for me, that's absolutely the buy area that I like. I love this one. I think this is going to do really good. This one of the few that I'm not going to take profits on everything during when things go crazy. I'll only take profits on some of it because this one I'll feel scared to miss out on. So I don't want to completely exit this one ever. And I have some collectibles on there that I'll take profits on some of those, but some I probably won't sell till they're what I hope are ridiculous prices. So essentially they took comic books and like this Spider-Man comic book, and they have the license to make the first digital comic books, essentially digital version of those comic books that will work in the metaverse, that you can have the digital Spider-Man #1. And the common version of those are selling for $60 now, but you could have bought them for $7. And the first like Marvel #1, which the secret rare version of that is selling for $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. I don't remember. I just remember I could have bought it for 2,000 and I didn't, and I watched it go to like 60,000. And so you'll be able to put them in your VV universe, the comics, and you'll be able to put some statues of like Batman and some of these things. So yeah, some of these comics, like our audience, we followed this very well, and you used to be able to buy this amazing Batman one on the marketplace or from the store itself for $100, and now they're going for $2,400, or last I saw like $2,100. They went to $2,400, pulled all the way back to $1,200, and have been running up again, and last I saw was between $2,200 to $2,400. So those are some of the collectibles on the side, and then there's this token behind it, and every time they make sales they burn some of their tokens, their OMI tokens, as well as there will be some additional use cases that are coming up for their OMI token to give it more tangible value. So I think there's a lot to happen with this that's coming soon, and they have the right team to make this happen. That's why I love this one. For people that are interested in this, but they want to catch the day-to-day, because they're literally day-to-day announcements on this, there's very few crypto channels that I could honestly say I absolutely love, but Tap's Trades channel is a great one to watch. He covers this frequently. I like his analysis. He's got a calm demeanor. He looks at good fundamentals, and he reads through the BS very well and gives you like good information. So I can highly endorse his videos on Ecomi. They're amazing. That's when I want to, because I can't keep updated on everything all the time on my channel. I don't specialize in any one project. I specialize in buying low and selling high. I catch up on Ecomi through watching his channel.
Fantastic.
Cool. That's what we got for today. Thank you for all the viewers out there. If you have a suggestion that you want to make for next week, put it in the comments section below. Don't message me, DM me on Telegram, or put it in the Telegram channel. You have to put it in the comments below on this video. We do thank you for joining us. If you're ready to level up your crypto game, then join us. Subscribe to the channel, join the Rainmaker family. Also, right now you can still join the Telegram group below. It is still open. It will not always be open. When we finish our crypto secrets training program, in order to then join the Telegram, you will have to get that. If you're already in the Telegram, you can get a discount on that course. So thank you for joining us. We want to also thank our sponsors, OneChain and NordVPN. We are very, very, very picky on who we let sponsor this channel. We say no all the time, almost all the time, and so we said yes to them because they're solid, and we asked NordVPN to sponsor us. And OneChain I've held in my portfolio since before I started this channel, and I continue to hold because I'm a big believer. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Paul, for your time. Yes, and we've got our our Rainmaker Rap for all of you at the end that reinforces these principles. I wrote the words. Somebody from the UK rapped them for us so that they're fun to listen to, but it reinforces the principles of buying low, selling high. Thank you for joining us. Perfect. Yeah.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit bad before you could. Was taught to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. Buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I sit the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, go parabolic, they dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes it time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. The time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but when knowledge you gain show. Sinking out this road cause soon will come a bear market. We're learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be crappy. I'm here for 5 years. time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough, and that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love, and I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.